Hey everyone, welcome to the Cringe Binge podcast. I'm Charlie. I'm here with also Jarrett, Nick, and Alberto.
Hello, everyone.
And today we're going to be talking about the Batman.
The new Batman movie. Yes.
Batman.
Yes, the Batman.
The new Batman movie with Robert Pattinson playing as the Batman, and we also got what is it? Lenny Kravitz's daughter playing as Catwoman.
Yep, Zoe Kravitz.
That was that was like a really
Already?
anyway. So what are your thoughts on the movie?
Oh my god.
we just jumping right into it. Okay,
Yeah.
this is going to be a long, long day.
Oh my god. I've only ever seen animated stuff like The Killing Joke and Injustice, and seeing this being my first live action Batman experience, I was very impressed and I enjoyed it very much.
All right. Yeah. I personally think it's one of like maybe top 3 best like Batman movies. In fact, I would even argue it's probably like one of the best like superhero movies like that's come out in recent times. I think it like Far From Home, the Spider-Man movie that came out.
No Way Home, yeah.
No Way Home. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, you're good.
Far From Home's the second one.
Mm-hmm.
So No Way Home, that one like had a lot of nostalgia factor to it because, well, if you haven't seen the movie,
Right.
spoilers, I guess.
It's
I
the
don't-
orange one.
Nah, don't even bother.
Whatever. Who cares?
It's old.
Be careful.
Well, okay. You know what? Fuck it. You know what? Sorry. Okay.
Didn't you just say we were swearing too much?
We got word from corporate that we need to tone it back a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. So basically, in Far From Home, the Spider-Mans meet up for the first time. Surprise, surprise. But while it did have that nostalgia factor, it like got people excited. I feel like as a movie, it really looked like a comic book to me. Like the choices and how the Gotham looked,
Mm-hmm.
I think were way more interesting than like the Dark Knight movies. I feel like Dark Knight was pretty good, like was a great movie with like
Mhm.
great performances from Heath Ledger and everything. But I feel like the atmosphere and how the city looked didn't really look like Gotham because it wasn't like super dark and
Right.
it's not in the name Gothic. It looked like New York City.
It just looked like they were filming in New York City, and that was what they used.
Speaking about like theming in the different Batman and superhero movies, I felt that the Batman was they if not just as much, it was more so a gritty detective drama than it
Yeah.
was a superhero
Yeah.
movie.
Right. We were comparing the Riddler to the Zodiac Killer. I think
Mhm.
also Jarrett over here.
Also, Jarrett.
He made the connection that it was basically kind of like the Zodiac Killer. We had like
Mm-hmm. That was the biggest comparison that everybody was making ahead of time, and that's what the directors said was their biggest influence for this decision for the Riddler. Because if you have any history with, if you've watched what is it, Batman Forever, which
Which-
came
which-
out in like the
Are you
'90s.
talking about the Riddler movie?
Yeah.
Oh, that's,
the one that
that's
had
Batman.
Riddler
That's
and
Batman
Two-Face in it.
Forever.
wait, was it Batman Forever?
It's Batman Forever because it's
Batman
Jim Carrey as
Forever.
Riddler. And,
Yeah.
Was
what's
that
his
one
name
of the
is-
George Clooney ones, or was that?
That was Val Kilmer.
Oh,
Val Kilmer, yeah.
No,
Wh-
Val.
wait.
George Clooney was Batman and Robin,
No,
which
Val
was
Kilmer was the
horrendous.
second
Okay.
movie. Was Batman Returns?
No, Batman. No.
Batman and Batman Returns were
Okay.
both Michael Keaton.
So what it was is it's Batman 1989. That's Michael Keaton. Batman Returns, Michael Keaton again. Then it's Batman Forever, which is Val Kilmer. Then you have Batman and Robin, which is
Oh
George
yeah,
Clooney.
Right.
Batman and Robin.
The worst out of that.
Yeah, that
the worst
movie
out of that
freak-
series.
A
Mhm.
bat credit card.
Bat nipples.
Bat
That-
nipples. That
like
was the
that-
controversy. Bat nipples.
A back
Yeah.
credit card sounds like something you would have seen in the Alan West TV show.
That's exactly
Yeah.
what I was thinking.
Yeah, it does. It had that goofy element, but it just didn't work because it was
Yeah.
just
Mhm.
Because
It-
the
it-
atmosphere hadn't been set up
it
for
was
that.
it was the Alan West TV show that was trying to take itself seriously.
The
and
story
Seriously.
behind those movies is actually really interesting because they wanted to go back to Tim Burton, who directed the first two with Michael Keaton, and they wanted to bring him back for a third. But Warner Brothers was really into the idea of marketing Batman to little kids.
Yep.
And I don't know if you've seen Batman, the two with Michael Keaton in them. They are not for kids. They're goofy now, but like Penguin is creepy, and there's like weird sexual undertones,
Well,
especially in the
Well,
second
the
one.
second one, yeah.
Very gothic, like very Tim Burton.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean, that's just how
Batman was
Batman is.
Batman was a killer in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would literally just throw people off buildings and be like,
Mhm.
Since,
But they wanted, but you see, they wanted to make Happy Meal toys.
since its inception, Batman has never been for children.
Right, exactly.
and people don't
Well,
seem to
besi-
realize that.
Well, what about like the Adam West one? Isn't that like some?
Well,
goofy
that was
fun?
that was a family friends thing, but that's just because most TV and media back then were family and friends.
You
stuff,
weren't
'cause that
allowed.
was-
You weren't allowed to have a toilet flush sound effect on TV back
Yeah.
then.
Oh yeah.
because you got to remember, TVs were so few and far between. If you had them, it was one, and it was per family, so everybody would see it.
Married couples slept in different rooms in
They s-
comedies.
They slept in different beds. Like in,
yeah,
I think even in
like WandaVision, if you remember that. Like one of the first 2 episodes, they're in like separate beds, and there's like a gap between
yeah.
them.
Even though it's an older show, it's still contemporary enough to not be an oldie. Which the show Married with Children. Have you guys ever heard of that show?
I've
Married
heard of
with
it.
Children.
Isn't that the
what?
one with the theme songs like "Love and
And
Married"?
yeah. It's the yeah, and so even in that show, which was like the 70s, they were still sleeping in separate beds in that
Mm.
show.
Jeez.
Times are a changing.
Yeah.
Times are changing.
And
we
so like
us
going-
couples sleep together in the same bed.
yeah, going from the Adam West goofy Batman where like the one of the one of the solutions to the Riddler's puzzle was a pigeon with a gun.
Yeah.
And then going from that to the Batman, where the Riddler literally pulls a 1984 and puts rats in a box on your head. Holy crap.
Yeah. To be fair, like if you back in the comics, it's very difficult to like there aren't very many Riddler stories that are any good. And I've heard this talked about before from other people on like YouTube and whatnot. But like it's because people who write comics, people who write movie scripts, despite what they might want you to believe, they're not geniuses.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to write for somebody who has like a million level intellect and could come up with all these crazy things
Mhm.
when you are not a million level intellect.
Yeah.
So you
Also-
got to either make him sound stupid
Mhm.
or make Batman sound like way too smart.
Also, I just want to add too that like I feel like Riddler was always seen as kind of like a joke because like
Yeah.
it seemed
Mhm.
like it was just Joker,
In-
but with a gimmick of saying riddles.
Yeah.
And I
In-
feel like in this movie, they made him more or less Joker esque, like with like I wouldn't say like the same performance as like Heath Ledger
He-
or like Joaquin Phoenix, but like and those are two different performances that are very like
He's
they're,
much-
they're two different characters. But I feel like this one they tried to make him more creepy, and then they turned him into a fucking incel.
He's much more of a clinical psychopath than he is in any
Yeah.
other thing he's
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah, definitely.
But so controversial opinion coming up right here.
Uh oh.
But
Uh-oh.
my favorite version of the Riddler is the tap dancing Riddler from Lego Batman 2.
Oh Jesus Christ!
What?
Whenever I think of Batman characters, I often like to think of the Arkham games, because I think those games do a great job to show a more well-rounded Batman. Because what ends up happening in movies and in TV shows is characters like Riddler are often shadowed over because people want action. People want to see Batman beat the crap out of somebody. And so when you're doing things with the Riddler doesn't have any powers. All he is really smart and uses riddles.
Yeah, but in those games, Riddler is a head ass.
Also, here's a
But that's
question.
kind of the point, though. It's like if you had somebody who was extremely smart and felt like he had a superiority complex, and he thinks everybody keeps praising this guy for being smarter than you. Of course, the first thing you'll think is, okay, well, I'm gonna find a way to outsmart him, and then you don't. 'Cause
Have you
Batman-
tried getting all those Riddler trophies in any of those games?
I have done it in Arkham City and in Arkham Knight.
It is horrendous.
Would you say Lego Batman is canon?
Yes.
Yes,
absolutely
absolutely.
not. Under no circumstances is Lego Batman in.
What do you
time.
mean? There's no way that the scene in Lego Batman 1 where Batman leaves out the bowl of milk for Catwoman to just throw her in the van. You can't tell me that's not canon.
Yes, that is absolutely canon. All of the Lego video games in any facet are canon.
Yeah, so Harry Potter Lego edition is like canon to it's like in the same ballpark as Deathly Hallows. It's like just like the same story, but it's
What,
just
terrible.
but just Legos. It's Legos. It's
Yeah.
for It's for kids. I can't
When
It's like saying the Lego Star Wars games are canon.
they
I
are.
mean, to be fair,
No.
Yes.
hey, here's
No.
Hey,
to be
here's
fair,
something
it's the
that'll
same
piss
thing.
everyone off.
Lego
I've
Star
never
Wars
seen a
3,
Star
the
War.
Clone Wars.
What?
What?
I've
Okay,
nev-
hold everything. Repeat yourself.
I've never seen a Star War.
Okay, that's what we're doing. We're literally, but between now and whatever next big movie, we're watching Star Wars movies. I don't know which one. I don't know what one. How many of them? We're watching at least one.
If we're watching at least one, we're watching A New Hope.
Yeah, that's fair.
The first one.
Yeah.
Theatrical.
Either a new
Theatrical release, not
yes,
the one.
I
where-
have a copy. I will send it
Not
to you.
not the one where Greedo shoots first. He says McClunky.
we ain't watching the Disney Plus
It
version.
would, see the thing.
McClunky.
My thing is if we were to ever watch a Star Wars movie and it had to have been one, it would have been either 3 or 4. Those two, God tier movies.
I mean, are there are the Star Wars movies like canonical? I mean, I know like you follow through a story, but like, can you see them as separate movies?
You can see A New Hope as a separate movie.
you can
'cause it
see, you
was
can
a separate
see.
movie.
There's certain parts where you can see it as its own movie, but when you get to the prequels, it really is for you to understand what's really going on. You'd have
Mhm.
to watch all the movies.
Got you.
The A New Hope at the time when it was theatrically released, it was just called Star Wars.
Yeah.
That was all it was called because it
So-
was just its own movie and it was going to get maybe a sequel. And then they made prequels, and then they made stuff that happens after the main movies.
Yeah,
and then they made ones that go in between, and then they made shows, and now it's a whole mess.
So whenever I say A New Hope to my mom, she doesn't know what I'm talking about because she grew up with Star Wars. She didn't grow up with A New Hope. Because
So
when she grew up, it was Star Wars. There was no New Hope.
going away from Star Wars and focusing on
No,
Batman.
Batman.
Focusing on the Batman.
Tangent number 1. Also, Jarrett, how what would you say like this movie ranks compared to like the other Batman movies?
I went back, and I think you said you rewatched some of the Dark Knight
Yes,
movies. I didn't go back and watch all of them like I originally planned to because holy crap. But I did go back and watch Batman Begins and Dark Knight, like you said. And for me, the Batman is at minimum on par with Dark Knight.
I feel so.
It
too.
really comes down to, and what I've watched several other reviews, it comes down to what tone you prefer for the character and the world of Gotham. Because Christopher Nolan has spoken many times about how he wanted to make a very realistic tone. Like, what if Batman was a real dude? And what would his real tech look like? And what would Gotham really look like if it was this big city? And he makes it look like New York, but it has, like, the Narrows. But Gotham in the Batman is the most accurate to the Batman in the comics. I mean, the Gotham in the comics that we've ever seen. It is a hellhole. Every part of it is just corrupt or ruined or falling apart. And depending on what you like better, comics or more modern interpretations,
Or Lego.
Yep, or Lego. Lego is a fair
it's
option.
then it's a toss-up between Dark Knight or the Batman. For me, it's probably the Batman
There are certain
for
things,
best Batman movie.
There are certain things about that movie that I really genuinely enjoyed. The art direction, or
Mhm.
like more or less like how the movie kind of looks like a film noir.
The shots in this movie are incredible.
Okay,
Yeah, they
so-
had like they're like whenever like there's red, it really like pops with
Mhm.
like the dark and everything. It's like super bright. It like genuinely a lot of the scenes, especially like whenever they catch the Riddler and they put him in Arkham Asylum, I can definitely like see like it being hand drawn as like the Riddler as a fucking incel.
Hmm.
Why do I keep swearing?
It's in your nature.
It's in my nature. I'll be the foul mouth.
Don't say the fuck word.
But basically, Paul Dino, who like when I saw him, I was like, that guy looks familiar. Oh, that's the guy who played Brian Wilson in the Love and Mercy movie.
Eh?
I feel like he did a fantastic portrayal of the Riddler.
Yes.
Just kind of capturing like the whiny sort of
Mhm.
overreacting to whenever he loses, sort
He's
of.
a sniveling
The-
little wormy fella.
Yeah, so the closest thing to the closest other version of the Riddler, not the Litter.
The Litterer.
Oh my
Not-
gosh, that would be my main
A
villain.
classic Batman
Oh,
66
don't-
villain.
Okay.
The Litterer.
Okay,
Yeah.
the closest other iteration of the Riddler I can think of is the one from Young Justice.
Oh, I didn't watch that.
That's a
I
great-
haven't seen it either.
I have only seen the first 2 seasons because the other seasons are behind a paywall and fuck
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Has anybody seen Batman the Animated Series?
Yes,
It's been years, but yeah.
but
That's
The Riddler, and
couple
that's
for-
really good too.
episodes.
for Young Justice, the Riddler is just like this. He's not really an incel because you can't really have a sexual kind of thing going on in a kid show
Yeah.
unless
Yeah.
it's like teen romance. And so for Young Justice's Riddler, he's just this like scrawny pencil neck guy with sideburns who wears green spandex.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
think
that-
I've seen that iteration like floating around the internet.
Doesn't
And-
somebody actually call him Pencil Neck in the movie? Like when they're
yeah,
like
when-
arresting him,
when-
some dude is like,
pencil neck.
"You're coming with us, Pencil Neck."
Yeah, when
And I was
they're-
like, "What the?"
yeah, like I was like, hang on, he's not that skinny.
And by the way, when we say incel with the Riddler, we don't actually mean that like he. Well, actually, never mind. I was gonna say like there's not much of violence when it comes to women, but never mind, there is. That like the rat in the cage thing.
That was
Yeah.
that was the commissioner.
But he did. Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
He-
it was.
he never-
He never killed.
He never
the-
killed
the
any
girl.
women. The girl was killed by Falcone.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's a
yeah,
spoiler.
that's- Speaking of,
I think we should just make these episodes from here on out like if you're watching this video, it's gonna spoil because
can
we
just
won't
put
be
that-
able to catch ourselves in time
we could just put like a disclaimer at the start of the video. Anyway,
After Effects, ladies
Yeah.
and gentlemen. Editing, the power of editing.
yeah. So
The Batman.
the Batman.
The Batman.
Catwoman, I think did like the Zoe Kravitz also did like a fantastic performance as like Catwoman. Can you
Am
stop
I the
whistling?
only one who didn't find her like extremely hot?
I mean,
What? Never mind. I'm not gonna say that.
okay. Anyway,
Okay.
so Zoe Kravitz, besides the fact that she played Catwoman, where she kind of, I wouldn't say like it's like a femme fatale sort of role.
No, she
yeah,
wasn't.
it's actually not really.
Who was
Which I'm glad they didn't do.
Whi-
actually.
which Batman movies were the ones where she's in the department store and she whips the heads off the mannequins?
Is that Batman Returns?
I think that's Batman Returns.
Yeah,
Is that the one?
Please
with
tell me you're not
Anne
talking
Hat-
about 2004 Halle Berry.
I think it's the one with the.
Oh, don't get me started on that movie.
Oh,
that
Halle
movie is
Berry.
terrible.
Ah,
Shush. So it's the one with, I think like Poison Ivy and Freeze.
Oh, that's a Batman and Robin.
That's Batman and Robin. So yeah, you're thinking Batman Returns.
Mr. Schwarzenegger plays as Mr. Freeze. Honestly, like it rivals, and I know we keep mentioning it, but
Choose
like
your
it rivals
pronunciations
perfect
carefully.
casting as Bowser being played by Jack Black.
All right,
Uh,
dude.
uh,
That's just that's a
going-
tangent on its own.
Now we're just going back to the Mario movie because we did
I'm
it last
sorry,
time.
it's
Okay.
excited.
So that's that that Batman Returns. You said
yeah.
the Batman Returns Catwoman is more of a femme fatale than
Yeah.
Batman.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't see it. Not in this movie.
yeah. In this movie, like
The-
she's
the
kind of like
most-
an
The most femme fatale thing she does is try to kill her dad.
Yeah.
Is that a femme fatale thing?
Yes, it's patricide.
all right.
We're
And
gonna move on because I don't know what the heck.
What?
What?
I do. I want to bring up something.
What are you talking about?
Jesus.
Find the K-hole.
we're just referencing the first episode now. Anyway,
I want to talk about
Vegemite.
something interesting. So my family, my brother and my
Mhm.
dad and all of them, they all went to go see the Batman. And their first like opinions of it was the movie sucked. They thought the movie sucked. And so I did want to bring that up.
I
because-
never want to meet your family.
No, and I was
I'd like to
thinking,
know why.
I was thinking about that, and so what I found out was their biggest problem is they went in thinking this movie was going to be something completely different than what it was. They went in thinking, oh, this is going to be like Dark Knight level Batman. He's going to beat up some bad guys. We're going to see him do some really cool, awesome stuff. and they didn't go in thinking what kind of movie it was going to be, so they just
Oh.
got their heart broken.
So the
okay.
car chase scene and the hallway scene, those weren't epic enough for them.
Well, they're thinking the whole movie's going to be that way.
Oh.
They go in and they're like, "Oh, I'm ready for excitement," and then the first hour of the movie is them setting up the world around it, so it's
Walking
not as
around and
much.
looking at crime scenes and
Yeah, and so they come out, and I remember my dad calls me. He goes, "Did you really pay to go see that movie?" I was like, "Yeah," and so did you. So I don't know why you're complaining at me.
so did you,
Okay, so-
sucker?
So full disclosure, I went and saw this movie twice because
Oh,
Oh.
before we had all agreed to go and see it,
Mhm.
I had agreed to see it with another group of people, like 2 days after we saw it.
Okay.
And so the second time around, I was like, I actually preferred watching it the first time because in a mystery drama, like I'd say 70% of the fun of watching a mystery movie is not knowing the mystery.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting as well because like they always say like Batman's like the world's greatest detective of all time, and like for the most part he's just like the crime fighting, butt kicking guy.
Well, in
like,
this one,
during the
he's
night.
kind of an idiot too because he can't speak Spanish and he doesn't know what a carpet remover looks like.
but I
Wait,
like
what?
that though because
I
this
don't
is-
think
this
the
is-
Spanish thing was a real thing, was it? Like he said a thing and Penguin like said, "Don't you? Am
Yeah,
I
it-
the only one who knows how to speak Spanish?"
It was a
Ital-
double
lot
meaning.
Of, a lot.
thing.
There's
It was
actually a
weird.
lot of overlap with
Yeah.
Italians who know how to speak Spanish.
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
weird, but that's the thing about this sort of movie, and I like how they took the approach of this is a Batman who's not like brand new. This isn't his first 2 days on the job, but this also is a Batman who's only been doing it for a year. So this is a Batman.
I thought
who-
it was 2 years.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
this
it was
is year
2
2,
years.
so it's
Oh.
been a year.
So it's
Oh,
not
yeah.
Batman year 1, it's Batman year 2.
Got it.
But this is
We're in the middle of the second year,
This-
so
this-
it's been at least a year.
Yeah,
Mhm.
this is a Batman who has
Go
been
backwards
for
math.
for about a year. He's been running around dealing with small time thugs. You know, you walk in, you beat them up, you walk out, you go home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when you walk in and this is the first time really fighting a supervillain,
Mhm.
quote unquote. Now he's flustered. Now you got him. He's sitting in his
Mhm.
living room. He's like, "What am I gonna do to stop this guy?"
Yeah, because this man just like destroyed Gotham.
This is the first
he
dude he
w-
has
or
to
his-
deal with like that.
Yeah, this is
He-
the first time he's actually had to work for his title.
Mostly he just beats up punks.
Yeah.
And can I just say one?
Vengeance.
Can I just say real quick how relieved I was that they didn't do a freaking origin story scene for this.
I'm so
Uh,
glad.
I was expecting it. I was low key expecting.
I
it.
was expecting it too because every single freaking Batman movie does it. Like they have it in Batman Year One. They have it in Batman v Superman for some reason.
Yeah.
Like, why? Like that movie already sucked, and you already had to.
Well, there was no reason for
Batman's
that.
parents died. Really?
Oh, I didn't know that
Oh, I
Batman's
didn't know.
parents died.
Because here's the thing with Batman,
Spoiler alert.
he's
They
such
took a Spider-Man approach with it.
he's such like a universally known character, and like there like that plot line like can be mentioned throughout the movie, and that's what they do. Like Alfred's just like, oh, they got killed because and by the way, like the guy who played Alfred did a pretty good job too.
That was good. Andy Serkis.
Yeah,
He
he was pretty
did-
good.
Consider your job.
Your father went to a hitman and said, "Don't kill this man," and then he got killed because he said, "Don't kill this man."
But I'm sorry, Bruce. I'm not your father. I can't really take care of you. But you're like a father to me.
He didn't say that in this
Yes,
movie.
yes, he did. He was
not,
like,
not in this movie. No,
no, yes, he did.
I saw that. I'm the only.
Oh, yeah,
one
that is true. You did
who
see it
saw
twice.
this movie.
He said,
twice.
But I remember him talking about
I
like.
have more authority on this
Well,
topic
I
because I
remember
spent
he
more
was- he was at the
more time of
hospital.
my life watching it.
But I remember he
Oh,
was.
I
it was the
also
hospital scene, right?
I should have brought this, but I got the collector's cup.
Oh, you went and got it. My dad
Hmm.
got the popcorn bucket.
Yeah,
and then
the-
proceeded to almost throw it away.
The bucket in the cup.
It's what I was getting at, like
$20 well spent.
with the origin story, like it's been done to death in like movies that refer to Batman, TV shows of Batman. Like it's been done to death. We already know that Batman's parents are killed, and that's why he took on the mantle. And fear was basically his weapon because he doesn't have superpowers. Obviously, like
Right.
it's not a Superman story. He's just rich. He can afford to get like batarangs and all this sort of crap, and I think it's way better than they just didn't do the origin story. I was relieved. I was like,
When they started, when the movie opened, I really thought that's what we were doing. Like we
Yeah.
were watching from like the killer's point of view with his binoculars. He's like planning out.
Yeah,
the
that's
attack.
what I
like,
was thinking.
It would be
too.
really dumb if that was premeditated. And then we watch it and you're like, oh no, okay, this is cool.
It's the mayor.
Yeah,
Yeah, see, I was interested. I thought it was gonna be
I was like, is that-
Catwoman stealing
Well,
from a
the,
house.
The
because
first
it's
time
like a
I-
Zorro
Yeah,
ninja suit, and I was like, please don't tell me.
yeah. Like the first time we saw it, I was like, why is there like the first thing I was thinking was because I didn't know that was a kid and I didn't know it was Halloween for like a minute in that scene. Like until the kid pulls up the Halloween pail, I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
It's so
But,
funny
like-
because we're in the
Yeah,
theater
we were
and we
just-
both look at each other and go, "It's Halloween."
Oh yeah, we were just like we both came to that epiphany at the same time.
I couldn't stand the two of you.
What?
I don't know.
Alright,
Like,
it
every
got-
once
it
in a
got
while, there was
better.
something that was said, and I'm like,
Y'all just kept
Dude.
giggling
Okay.
at each other at
Okay,
like, different points of the movie.
In my defense, I get it from my mom. She does not shut up when she watches movies.
did you do it less the second time?
I didn't do it at all the second time because I knew what was happening.
I mean, in Uncharted, I was the one who was speaking a lot. I just kept making jokes about Spider-Man or Tom Holland being Spider-Man. He's just like, why doesn't he use the web shooter? But in this one, I like it was like such an intense movie, especially that scene where was it a funeral? Like it was at a church. And
Are,
there
are
was-
you
Yeah,
talking
it
about
was-
for the
it was-
commissioner?
No, it was the mayor's funeral.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, the mayor's
Right,
funeral.
Yeah.
The car,
When the car goes through
the
the
car
door.
goes through the doors, and they're doing this interrogation
And it's-
scene, and he has to try to guess like the 3 riddles.
Mm-hmm.
That's like such a really intense.
It was
scene.
a tense scene.
Yeah, that
was cool.
scene was made really well done, and Paul Dano, who was like who was still in the mask, not revealed that he was dressed up like Jeffrey Dahmer. He was like doing a pretty good job trying to like build that intensity, and
Yeah.
I feel like that
when he
was
gets tense and starts to yell, you're like,
Yeah, like when I saw it the first time with you guys, I was like, "Oh my god, is he gonna like run away from the blast?" And then when he gets his face gets exploded because he's too close to the collar bomb, it's just like, holy shit.
I
mhm.
feel like it also it rivals the scene like whenever like they do like the disturbing scene from Joker, and like Joker's just like, people are gonna die tonight, starting tonight. I'm a man of my word.
The only thing about that scene is I
Okay.
wish I could be a little more surprised with it, but because I knew that he was going to die, like in
Mhm.
my brain, I was like, he's gonna die. There's no way.
I mean, he's
Yeah.
gonna.
for the plot, he would have had to die. So like the intensity was already gone for me.
Everybody else he went after died. And
Yeah,
so when
so,
the dude showed up with a bomb, I was like, oh, you're just dead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm sorry, you're gonna die, but
Yeah.
I mean,
at
it'd be
least you're
cool
giving
if
us
you
good
didn't,
information.
but like, you're kind of a sleaze.
Yeah, like I
Hey,
and also
oh,
it's
that's quite the weight off your shoulders.
that's
I
quite
hate you.
I will say as well, like the Riddler didn't just like kill random people just because. Like
Mhm.
in the Dark Knight, like Joker just kind of killed anyone that was in his way. Riddler tried to kill people that like I wouldn't say like people deserve to die, but like they were kind of scumbags.
But
It's
like,
not about the money. It's about sending a message.
And then every once in a while, when he's in the middle of talking, he just goes,
Welcome to my ASMR video.
Oh, and that was weird,
Joker
too.
ASMR. I guarantee you that's a thing. And then just halfway through a sentence, they're just like, so,
One thing that was
Here we
weird about the
go.
movie, like
again.
they made it so Riddler has like an online presence.
They made it so he's on 4chan.
He's basically on 4chan, yeah.
But that's
he's got
the thing that doesn't
500
get-
followers,
That
and
was the
they're
thing
just
I was a
like,
little confused about. I was like, if he's on 4chan, why hasn't Batman or Alfred found this out when they were doing these deep searches?
Why
it's
did-
the
do you-
equivalent of 4chan,
you-
but it's more like a dark web chat room.
What do you think a trust fund kid is going to be on 4chan?
But no, I think for this but it's also a younger Batman, so I can kind of understand it. But I think this is going to be a learning moment for him. He's going to be like, okay, maybe I need to buff up my Bat computer.
Mhm.
So I can
is this
figure
where-
out
Is this where
computer.
Oracle comes in?
I hope.
Mm. By the way, that reminds me, the eyepieces, like the
Yeah.
contact lenses, where
That
they
was
like
cool.
film footage.
Yeah.
That,
That
was
was cool.
so cool.
Oh yeah, that was a
That
good
was
that was a good one, yeah. And also like I've never like a lot of the Batmans, they don't really wear the eye makeup thing. and
Mhm.
like they made Batman like grunge, and that's basically kind of how we like. This is kind of like the generational.
Batman is grunge.
Well,
Yeah,
the
Batman
thing,
is
the
a
thing
grunge
is with the
name.
other Batmans is he does wear the makeup, but they make it
never
seem like
show
it's
it.
a part of the helmet. Like
Yeah.
he puts the cowl on, and all of a sudden the makeup appears.
Yeah.
All
Like,
the
it doesn't work
actors
that
have
way.
worn eye paint. It's just that whenever they take it off, magically it's not
It's just
there.
Yeah.
it's just gone. Where'd it go?
This guy kept it on, and don't they even show a scene where he's like getting ready to go out and he's like sitting there?
And yeah,
picking
he's
his
just like
eyes?
for like 5 minutes. He's
Exactly with
to the
that-
tune of Nirvana, just underneath. the
Yeah, something.
rain."
Yeah, that was a good touch.
something in the way or something stupid like.
Yeah, they like
they played the heck out of that song.
They played it
well,
twice.
they played it twice. They played it like
they also
uh,
played Ave Maria twice, and they had the Riddler sing it.
When the Riddler sang it, I was like, ah.
Yeah.
That was
I just
that was
I
terrifying.
already
So,
am not a fan of that
It,
song.
it wasn't the fact that he was creepy when he sang it. It was the fact that he was tone deaf that made it a bad scene.
It's just I've always
and
never
coming
been a
from
big
and
fan
coming from
of
Paul
it, so,
Dano,
ugh.
who sang, who played as Brian Wilson, he should not be tone deaf. But I guess that was kind of the point.
That's kind of the
Yeah.
point.
That's kind of the point. Like
At that
he's,
point, the
he's
dude's
so
just
off,
unhinged.
He's so unhinged that like stuff like that doesn't even. Think.
No, I had it all figured out. We were gonna sit through it all and be okay.
I saw a
I thought you were gonna
meme.
talk about the whale.
Oh yeah, the whale noise. I was like, is someone in the audience making
He
whale
sat there
noise?
to my right, and we're sitting there watching him like moan and wail, and he's like, "Why the heck are there whale noises?" And I was like, "That's him."
I
What are you
that was
talking
I thought that was someone else in the audience for some reason. Like
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, and like the interesting thing, that Batman movie was like around. I looked it up. It was like 2 hours and 56 minutes,
Yeah.
basically 3 hours, and the pacing of the movie was actually super well done. Like
Yeah.
I don't feel.
Can
I
you
don't
believe
feel
there's
like there
Because
was like a
it,
dull
it was
Mhm.
during the investigation mystery scenes, it was a slow burn, and then during the action scenes, it was like fast paced and bam.
Can you believe there's actually deleted scenes for
There's
this
deleted
movie?
scenes from this movie.
This
yeah.
movie was 4 hours long.
Oh, I want to
Oh,
see
wow.
that.
Yeah.
That reminds me, we haven't talked about this yet, but that's obviously the Joker at the end.
I'm still off on that one.
The
But I-
director confirmed it's the Joker.
Oh,
it's
but
the
it's
Joker.
proto Joker. He hasn't like bleached face, green skin yet, but he's a nut.
Oh, so he's nuts.
Green
It's
skin?
kind of like Jack Napier.
Green hair, I
Oh,
mean.
I
Green
hope to
hair,
God
white
they-
skin.
So it's like Jack Napier, Batman 1989, where like there's a part of it where he's not like fully Joker, but he's
Mhm.
still crazy.
He's nutty,
like-
but he doesn't have that like obsession with Batman that makes
like,
him
I hope
when-
to God
when-
they just don't
a
put
psychopath.
Joaquin Phoenix to
when
play
Jared
with
Leto
Robert
is
Pattinson.
disguised as the police officer in the firing squad.
Wait, was he?
At one point, he puts like face, like actually like skin tone face makeup over, and when
no,
he's
not
in the
Jared,
firing
not
squad.
Jared Leto. Who the Heath Ledger.
Yeah, Heath Ledger.
Oh
in Dark
yeah,
Knight.
yeah. That
In the
I was
Dark
so
Knight,
confused there.
Heath, not Jared Leto, because fuck Jared Leto, but Heath Ledger. The only scene I've seen from the Dark Knight trilogy is when the Joker is disguised as a police officer in the firing squad.
Oh yeah, that's a good scene.
And all of a sudden, they all duck, and he turns to face the mayor, and he's like, and then he gets like knocked down or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what was I gonna say about that was there was a scene that was apparently cut after the death of the commissioner
hmm
where Batman went to Arkham and talks with that guy
Mm.
because
Commissioner?
after the death of the commissioner of police,
Oh.
he goes to Arkham to talk with this unknown figure in the jail cell he mentioned that it was supposed to be similar to like when you've talking to like Hannibal Lecter when he's in
Oh.
prison. And so this dude basically helps him try and figure out like he teases some of the answers to maybe it's this, maybe it's that to the answer to the riddle
hmm
that he hasn't solved yet.
Yeah.
And so by the time but at the end it was supposed to be this reveal that hey, this proto Joker was actually like playing the long game to get Riddler in Arkham with him
And they cut
so that
that.
they can
they cut-
team up or
they cut-
meet.
They cut that scene because.
Too long.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
okay,
movie.
but- okay.
Yeah, the movie's already
Hey,
stretching
okay,
2 hours
here's-
long.
here-
Okay.
I would have rather had the Joker interrogation scene than any of the Celine romance scenes.
The Celine romance scene.
Selena.
Selena.
Catwoman.
So my thing is so there that scene where we get the big reveal that Thomas Wayne had been dealing with Falcone, quote unquote.
Right.
Well,
So there's 3 separate scenes that happen there. There's a scene where we find out, and there's this whole 3-minute spiel where Riddler's explaining it. We get another scene of Falcone telling us the exact same information, and then we get another scene of Alfred explaining what just happened. And so I think that was my biggest pet peeves
There's a bit of ping
scene-wise.
pong
Is
with that conversation.
is there's too much of each scene, and I
Well,
feel like it would have worked better if they would have broke down parts of it.
Well, I think that's a good. Those scenes are a good example of the investigation process of like, okay, here's a theory that my dad maybe wasn't a saint. Okay, here's some like
More evidence.
Here's more evidence.
And then here's the actual answer.
Here's the actual answer, and then I go to confront one of the people who knew my dad, and then they say, no, that's not the actual answer.
All Riddler knew was that, oh, look at this. Thomas Wayne had this person killed. And then you go to the mob boss, and the mob boss says, he asked me to take care of it, so I did. And so then he goes to Alfred, and Alfred's like, he didn't want him to kill him, he wanted him to spook him so he'd back off. And then the mob boss just killed him because that's what a mob boss does.
But
And
did
then
that
the mob boss
take
killed
20
Thomas
minutes to
Wayne.
do that? That doesn't take 20 minutes to do that.
It's a mystery. It's
But
a
I also
theory,
think that
evidence, more evidence,
I
actual
think
answer.
All the mystery scenes in that movie are supposed to have a Dracula-esque slow burn.
Yeah.
it's just it aggravates me because I feel like you're taking time away from something that could have worked, like the Joker interrogation scene.
I do
Oh,
feel like
yeah.
it could
I
have
feel
been
like-
shortened a
Yeah,
bit.
I feel like it could have been shortened so that way you could fit something good else in there as well. You know what I mean?
By the way,
It's
when
like
I
having
thought
extra lettuce on a sandwich when you could put another piece of bologna. But
the first have fun with cholesterol, but the scene where Alfred gets blown up. The first time I saw that, I was like, okay, they killed off Alfred. I hate this movie now. And then the second time, I was like, okay, Alfred's gonna live through this, and I know that. I love this movie.
Yeah,
That-
because they can't touch Precious Alfred.
No.
Actually,
I mean,
No, I know they've killed Alfred. Like, it's kind of like they've killed every single character they've ever like any DC character that was ever created died at least once.
up until maybe the past year or two, Alfred had never died once. And then they had this big event in the comics where Bane. Oh, Bane!
I'm giving it back to the people.
In a tie-in issue, has Alfred in front of Robin and snaps his neck in half.
Damian Wayne or Tim Drake?
Damian Wayne.
Okay.
But
Ah.
he hasn't come back since. This was 2 years ago, and he hasn't come back since. Normally it takes like 6 months, and then it's like, oh, I actually wasn't there.
Hmm.
But he's
Or
he's still dead, and it's been 2 years. So when
we-
they killed Alfred, I was like, oh my god, they're doing the thing that was in the comics just now. And I hated it, but it's...
Oh, I actually.
But they didn't kill our boy Alfred.
I
He's
went
a
to-
loyal man.
They took my body to the Lazarus pit, and now I'm all better.
Master
Or
Bruce.
actually, you thought that was me, but in
Master
reality, it was like
it was my
a
twin.
clone.
Master Bruce, I just had a lovely bath in the Lazarus pit. You should take a try. Maybe even give it to your little what's his name? Jason Todd.
Hate that.
Well, we
Hate that.
Master Wayne.
we been knew Jason's alive.
About
since-
$1 for every time that somebody
found
actually. About $1 for every
Master
time
Wayne.
somebody's actually
found the
falling for
Wayne
the
family.
Jason Todd death. Because there's people who still don't know that Jason Todd just isn't dead, and he comes back, and I'm like, what in the world?
Have you been living under a rock?
Have you been living under a bat cave?
Have we been living in a pineapple under the sea?
Absorbent and porous.
I hate myself. Don't you? You don't have to give me that look. I already.
Are you ready, kids?
Oh god, we're
No.
not doing it.
But
Back, I think it's funny that back in the '80s, like they killed off Bucky Barnes, who's the Winter Soldier, and Robin, or Jason Todd Robin. And back at that point, that was like a mainstay. It was like those are the three people you never bring back are Gwen Stacy, Bucky Barnes, and Jason Todd, and they've all come back at least once.
Yeah,
Gwen
because
Stacy
they're
has come back.
beloved
She's still
characters.
dead, but they clone her all the time in the comics.
yeah,
it's
Gwen.
ridiculous.
Now that Marvel opened the
Gwenpool, are you kidding me?
yeah,
Now that Marvel opened the multiverse, any character can come back and have a crossover.
Which is
Maybe we'll
scary.
see Gwen Stacy graduating from college and becoming a professional scientist.
Or we can watch her break her back again. Oh my gosh. Well, speaking of jokes, people were hating on this movie for not being funny. This
It's
movie
not
was hilarious.
supposed to be funny.
This movie
But it
was
is
hilarious.
funny.
though.
No. There's some good. I'll admit.
I mean,
there's
there.
situational humor.
Yeah, it's
like
not.
when the cops are scared shitless of
Yeah.
Batman. Like he walks in and he's just
What's the name of
heavy footsteps and they're just like
what's the name of the Spanish guy who's like, oh yeah, that's a carpet thing, the carpet tool.
Oh, I don't remember his name, but I know who you're talking about.
But like
Mhm.
at the beginning of the movie, they're like step aside, and they say his name, and I forget his name.
this joke from the movie.
He's the closest thing we get to a comic relief character. Is that.
Penguin. Penguin's the closest we get to a comedy.
Penguin, yeah.
Penguin is.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Penguin is
yeah.
a
He's
comic
funny,
book.
like
Pe-
almost every time he speaks is funny. And then when
Yeah.
they have him tied up at the end, he's like,
Yeah.
"Wow, what are you trying to do?"
Yeah.
he's waddling around.
So Penguin and that one cop are the two closest things we get to comic relief.
It's all
characters.
situational humor, like
Yeah.
dark situation. Thumb drive. The
Oh, yeah.
goddamn
That's what I was gonna mention. That was the cutest fucking joke. I've
Batman
ever
just
seen in a
Batman just
Batman
goes
movie.
thumb drive, and Gordon's like Jesus.
It's
'Cause
like
Batman-
Jesus as he's fixing his latex glove. It's like
He's like,
and it's
As-
kind of
but
funny
the-
because like Batman kind of looks at him like, "Wow, this is just the worst joke ever,"
Mhm.
and then
But
just
like the fact that
he
like
practically rolls his eyes. He's like,
thumb
but
drive.
but there's a
Jesus.
there's a certain sense of comedy to the deadpan nature of Batman in every situation.
No, it's
this man killed another person and cut his finger off so that Batman could open a USB flash drive.
I mean,
of
it's
it,
also
of
stuff
secret
like
photo.
like when they were at the crime scene, and so Batman starts touching stuff, and one of the police officers then goes, "Hey, you can't do that. That's messing with a crime scene." And then Gordon goes,
he's got
"He's got gloves on."
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, what about chain
he's
of
like,
evidence?
you'll smudge all the fingerprints, and then like after he leaves, Gordon's like, he was
He's-
wearing gloves.
yeah, it's like what
What's the
about
matter with you?
yeah, and by the way, when we're talking about Gordon, we're not talking about Commissioner Gordon because he's not Commissioner.
Oh, wait, he's not a
Right.
commissioner
He's
yet.
like-
yeah.
He's Lieutenant Gordon.
Lieutenant or captain or something.
He's a lieutenant in
Yeah.
the movie.
You know, it is I think like it's a very interesting idea for Batman, like Robert Pattinson Batman, to be at the stage that he's at because the stage that he is at. Like, how old it was Batman? Was he like in his like maybe late 20s or like mid 20s in this movie?
Oh no, it was 20 years since that movie was 20 years since the day Thomas and Martha Wayne died. So he would have
He would have been like 8 or 9.
he would have been like early 30s, late 20s.
Yeah, he would have
Mhm.
he would have been later because he was like 8 or 9 when.
Batman's age is always flip flopping around.
Yeah, but like
in that movie, it's 20 years to the month.
The youngest I've ever seen him, like, typically when the day he starts becoming Batman, he's in his like mid 20s, early mid 20s.
There's also that episode in the animated series where they get their ages reversed and he's still Batman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then Diana has like a schoolgirl crush on him and it's weird.
Mm.
Yeah.
Comics are weird.
It's the animated
It's
series.
just, it's just
not
so
the
it's so
comics.
funny to think that Batman has been Batman for so long that it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, it's like you can reverse my age, but I'm still vengeance.
I'm still vengeance.
Yeah.
That's my thing with Paddington. Paddington is an amazing Batman, but I think the least well performance in this was just him being Bruce Wayne. But that's because of I think that's the
'cause he's
source
very-
material.
I think that yeah,
I think it's source material rather than the actor himself.
that's partly to do with the story.
I
Yeah.
think
Just
I-
because he's barely in it and he's like sad all the
Well,
time.
the
that's
thing,
a good
the thing
point, yeah.
people continually fail to realize about Batman is that he is not a well-adjusted. He's not mentally adjusted.
No, he's not well adjusted
He has
at
been
all.
living with the trauma at this point in the Batman movie. He has been living with and not moving past the trauma of his parents' death.
He has not
for,
mentally developed for 20 years.
for 20 years.
So would you say Christian Bale played a better Bruce Wayne and like he did a decent Batman? Like he did an iconic Batman just because of his stupid voice. But like
Mhm.
would you say that he played a better Bruce Wayne, and then Robert Pattinson played a better Batman.
Yes.
I would say that,
Mm.
and it's also the reason why he does a better Batman, Bruce Wayne, is because he's matching the tone of the
Right.
area around him. He's meant to be a playboy billionaire in that movie.
Honestly, I
That's- and
think
he
at
does
some
that well.
point we're going to see Robert Pattinson play a more adjusted Bruce Wayne
Yeah,
in
Mm.
future movies because we know we're getting TV shows and more movies and all that.
Because during the funeral scene, the mayor at the time in that scene, she was still only a candidate. She wasn't the mayor elect. But she the what
Didn't she win?
yeah, she won.
But she won, but she wasn't sworn in. So
No.
Mhm.
If you win an election but you are not yet sworn in, you are a presidential elect or
Yeah.
a congressional elect or
Or
a
mayor
mayoral
elect,
elect.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
at that point, she was still a candidate, and so the candidate Real, or that was her name, right?
Yeah, that her whole slogan was like real change,
Yeah.
but it was real, so it's got a
Yeah.
little accent over the A. It's like, ooh, that's kind of fun.
Yeah, and so what's her Real was like, you need to be more involved in this city's philanthropy, and so I think that's like planting a little seed for him to become more of an active member
Mhm.
in society as Bruce Wayne.
I think we're gonna start at some point. We're gonna see him do more of what Christian Bale did because
mean-
Christian Bale was more adjusted, especially in Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Like when he's at the dinner parties, he's like, "Oh, I actually own the place. Let me pull the table over and let's have
Yeah. I
a
mean,
conversation."
even then-
who elected the Batman?
I mean, even then, like, I honestly forgot what I was gonna say.
but that happens.
Hey, look, off in the distance, it's the train of thought.
Wave as it goes.
Goes so long, farewell.
It's so much quieter. It's just like off in the distance with the train. It's just. Pew!
All right. Let's see. I guess what we can compare like the Batmans or like the villains maybe.
What'd you guys think of the performance of the Penguin?
Oh, love
Because we only like briefly touched on it, but we talked about like Zoe
'Cause,
Kravitz and Robert Pattinson.
I got the impression that he was trying to do like a Robert De Niro impression.
Honestly-
like, hey, what you doing? What you doing?
Ju-
Take it easy, sweetheart.
Hey, get easy.
forget about it. But-
Forget about
But
it.
I think the reason I enjoy, I'm gonna say this, and then I'm gonna give the reason why I think this.
Mhm.
So I enjoy Danny DeVito better because I have a preference for Danny DeVito as an actor.
Who doesn't love Danny DeVito?
That's fair.
You-
But I like this Penguin. I think he matches the tone.
He matches the
yeah,
tone
he
of the
definitely
movie,
does.
just like Danny DeVito matches
matches
the
the,
tone.
the,
of
matches
the,
the
the
tone of-
odd
yeah.
and whimsical
Yeah.
tone of Batman Returns.
He's
But-
like an Edward Scissorhands type. He's like this undertone, horrific, like
tragic backstory.
tragic.
And it's so weird
character.
because everybody's voting for him for mayor for some reason. And
I
they're
mean-
they're like, dude, look at this troll.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, like,
He's
in
a
that
troll, man.
in that Batman movie, like, yeah, he was it's two different tones to the Batman movie because I feel like in this one, he's more or less just playing a mob boss,
yeah.
yeah,
and in the other one, it was probably just like
He's got webbed hands.
But that's the whole thing about Penguin. Penguin is just a mob boss.
Yeah.
He doesn't
Mhm.
seek out Batman because he has anything to do with Batman. Batman just stops him. So now he's a part of my problems.
everybody else always has like a bone to pick with Batman, especially in the comics.
Yeah.
Like they always want to do something to like get at Batman, or they just their whole goal is to kill the Batman.
Yeah.
They rarely have a plan that has nothing to do with him because they expect him.
Well-
Penguins works so far in the shadows that Batman sometimes interferes with his plans, but
Mhm.
Penguin is very much just a man of opportunity. He
Yeah.
does things in order to make a profit. That is always his end goal.
And another example of someone who isn't entirely fixated on Batman is Freeze.
Yep, that's exactly what I was
Mhm.
thinking.
yeah,
because-
because Freeze is just trying to resurrect his wife. Poor guy.
Yeah.
Be
Wh-
cool to see Freeze in a.
Be cool
to That-
see Freeze.
That's what I was thinking. I was like,
That was a straight up Batman and Robin joke, and I shun you for it.
get iced.
He holds up the gun, they zoom in on his face, and he goes, "Hey, chill."
I would love
to see you, Batman.
I would love to see Like, I would love to see Pattinson go up against Freeze.
What,
But-
like, instead of, like, magical freeze crystals, he just uses nitroglycerin or something?
Yeah, like he's like actually smart.
He puts you in like a gigantic like metal tube that you can't like bust your way out of, and he just fills it with like liquid nitrogen. He's
But-
like he's just watching you through through like the window, just laughing.
Yeah.
Another thing that people keep bringing up is the possibility of a Robin in this thing. But I'm like,
Interesting.
I think the...
Are you saying that little kid that like he tried to
well,
save?
it was that, and then it was who was it?
If they were... I think if they were going to use a Robin for this setting, I think Jason Todd would be too cliche.
Mm-hmm.
Dick Grayson is too overdone. So I think they would have to use Tim Drake.
And
That's actually interesting you say that.
Yeah, exactly where I was getting at that. So Titans had, at the very beginning, the guy who has the paint halfway on his face.
Yeah.
So
And he runs
that
away.
guy actually plays Tim Drake in the DC Titans show.
Titans
Well,
Yeah.
on HBO Max. There's no way he's playing Tim Drake in both
There's
of
no
those.
way.
But it's
But-
just kind of a fun little like, hey, he
Yeah.
played Tim Drake in the Titans show, and he's here for like 10 minutes. I guess they just like him, like they just like that actor for some reason. But it's just kind of fun.
Yeah, but because Jason Todd fits too well into that environment.
Yeah,
If they were going the whole Jason
too
Todd
obvious.
Red Hood route, he fits too well into that grungy Gotham. And
Yeah.
so for a Robin who isn't too cookie cutter for that setting, or too just like too flamboyant, because Dick Grayson is flamboyant.
Yeah.
Younger he's flamboyant when he gets.
I'm
older.
Robin.
He's just goofy when he gets older.
Yeah, and so I think the best Robin for that setting would be Tim Drake.
Yeah,
Because Tim Drake is a good mix. He's a little darker, but he still has that goofiness of Robin.
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
And I think that would be a good dynamic to have. Batman's still brooding, and then
Not
Yeah.
to mention Tim Drake is technically the only Robin to rival Batman's detective skills.
Yes.
And because they put such an emphasis on that in this movie, that might be a good avenue to go. Tim Drake is the only one, is the only Robin to actually like find out Bruce's
Yeah.
Batman, and who his last two Robins
Yeah.
were. Like
But
in the
like-
comic, he's like, your last Robin was Jason Todd, and Batman's like classic like 70s cartoon. He's like,
that's
But,
that's the only thing about Batman is how can you live in Gotham City and not think that Bruce Wayne is Batman?
There's no
nobody
shot.
ever sees the guy,
Well,
and there's a guy walking around with a whole bunch of tech. How do you not notice it's Bruce Wayne?
there's
It's hard.
the police purposely don't like put much effort into it after he starts to help him.
Yeah.
Like in the year one comic, mob people kidnap Gordon's like infant, and Batman saves it from being like chucked off a bridge,
Yeah.
and he loses his glasses at some point. And at this point, you're like, he's been investigating Bruce Wayne. Was like, we think it's Bruce Wayne. We really think it might be Bruce Wayne. He has motive. And so when they finally like Batman saves him, and he's like, his face is like uncovered, like he's wearing like a toboggan, and that's it. And Gordon doesn't have his glasses on. He's like, I can barely see a thing without my glasses.
He's like, thank
He
you. Fred."
knows who it is.
yeah.
He
And-
just doesn't say anything.
Yeah, but cuz like the whole thing about like the origin story of each Robin is that Dick Grayson wanted revenge for his family. Jason Todd was carjacking the Batmobile. And Tim Drake was just smart enough to become Robin.
And Damian Wayne was his blood.
I
Or
hate
whatever the
Damian
heck.
Wayne. I'm sorry.
Damian Wayne is fun. He's
Yeah.
fun in all the worst ways.
I like him better in the Robin and Superboy comics than I do in the
Hmm.
Batman comics.
Yeah.
Dynamic duo.
Yes.
So what do you guys think if you guys had to pick where they move from here? What the heck is funny?
Don't worry about it.
What's funny?
Share with the class.
Share with the class.
I don't
Spill
know
the
why
beans.
I was sticking my tongue out and then fucking stared at me.
Like I'm listening
I'm
to his
sitting here
question,
talking
and I
and he
look
just-
over and Berto just has his tongue out.
Okay, so
I haven't
I-
slept in a bit.
this
where do you think they're gonna go in Batman 2?
this will most likely not happen. However, what I want to happen is I want for some sort of like because Riddler was a terrorist in this movie.
Right.
He was a
Basically, yeah.
He was a psychopathic terrorist who had who had a small following of like-minded sick individuals. So I'm thinking they
Extremists.
just keep going with that, but with different Batman villains. Like,
You think Riddler's gonna be the main villain for the next movie?
no,
I
I
don't
mean,
think
I
so.
mean, what I'm trying to say is like instead of Riddler having this following of incels, it's Poison Ivy with a following of eco-terrorists, or it's
Well, Poison Ivy it would just come out of
That'd be
nowhere, and
interesting.
we already kind of introduced like.
But I think it's too soon for that team up. I think that's a third movie thing.
Mhm.
I think they recruit one more person, and then that's their triple team.
They're
Or-
building up to. I think
or
a lot of people are speculating that Joker is their Thanos moment. Like
Yeah,
at
that's
the
what-
end
that's
of
what
the
I'm
first
saying.
Avengers, after the end, they were like Thanos, and then we don't get it till like 6 years later with Avengers 3, and there's a lot of stuff to happen in between 1 and 3. So they think that there's going to be more movies that kind of build out the world, do other villains, and maybe as Arkham gets filled up a little more, the third, maybe fourth movie is going to be like a group of them, like a bunch of them teaming up.
or
And Joker's like the mastermind of them all.
You go ahead.
like so going like it's just going to be a continuation of the idea that it's one sick individual with a bunch of like-minded sycophants.
Right.
And so it could be Poison Ivy the eco-terrorist. It could be
Joker, the crazy terrorist.
it could be
It could be Mr. Freeze, the cold terrorist.
it could be Scarecrow the psychological.
Anti-global
And then that's
warming.
where I was gonna go with that. I would love to see Scarecrow in the second movie.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
Scarecrow
think
could
that
be
would be
neat.
amazing.
Because
Yeah, 'cause-
we were talking about it when we were walking out of the movie. Like, what if Scarecrow, but instead of like some magic juice that makes you go crazy, he just uses like anthrax or something.
Yeah, like since Riddler kind of like I would say like maybe like tried to confuse the audience. I wouldn't say confuse, but like it like throughout the movie they just made you think bless you. Riddler's like antics made you think throughout the movie, and I feel like if they made another Batman movie, it'd be more interesting if they just made it more of a mystery, and I think Scarecrow would be pretty good.
Mm.
Because he's like psychological and he's just kind of like the
Keep the
scary
detective theme
Batman
going.
villain, whereas Joker and like the Riddler, they're just kind of like crazy.
See, I think a good team up, not like them teaming up directly, but I would like to see Scarecrow, and then I would like to see someone like Black Mask running his operations.
Black Mask would be
And so
interesting.
then that's why Scarecrow is doing what he's doing. He's working off of Black Mask's like whole operation.
Oh,
It'd be really interesting to see.
ooh.
Yes, Charlie.
It's a gang war between Penguin and Black Mask.
Oh, that would be cool.
That would be interesting.
That
Well,
would be cool.
Because Falcone's empire has been split up, and
Yes.
the
Oh, yeah,
implication is
and-
that Penguin's going to try and step in,
Yeah.
and he was like trying to like badmouth Falcone there at the end. He was like, "I always knew you were a rat."
Yeah.
Time will tell to see what the next Batman movie is gonna be.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to see the Court of Owls. If you
I-
guys are aware of who
I-
that is.
I've heard
think,
of that,
I
yeah.
think that's a little too soon.
And
but
I
I would
think
like to
that's
see that
very-
as like a more in-game sort of thing,
The
like
reason-
like after all the Joker
Mhm.
stuff.
I think that's more just like like it's like I don't think like a lot of Batman fans. Sorry, I say it in quotes
Right.
just because it's more just like the general public who likes Batman, but they don't really read the comics.
hmm
Mhm.
I feel like that's very underground for like
Right.
Batman villains.
It's very
compared to,
new.
like,
It's within the past
Riddler.
10 years.
And Joker's like the king of the crop when it comes to like the villains with Batman, and I think the Court of Owls is very like it's just something different, really.
Right.
It's not surface level Batman.
Precisely, yeah. And I feel like many movie directors and writers and stuff like that probably they might just go for surface level stuff with Batman because it's probably just easier to write.
Well, it's easier to write, and you're gonna get more people in seats.
Exactly, because they'll be like, who the hell is the Court of Owls?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like they're just like, oh, like
Secret
it's
society
like a
of
new villain that they
rich
made up
people.
because of the movie, but it's not like something.
That could be the incentive for Bruce to like get out of his comfort zone and start being more like philanthropic and like start to like be all buddy with the rich folks
Yeah,
as he's
like-
trying to figure out which one of them is like secretly part of this
Secret-
Illuminati like
yeah.
rich people group.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
That's
be
his
interesting.
detective work. Is he's
Yeah.
trying to like buddy up with people, and he's like trying to figure out who is who.
all right, fellas. We're getting to the end of the podcast, so we're gonna do the same thing that we did last time, where we have 2 minutes
2 minute thoughts.
to basically just kind of run down the movie. Charlie, since you did the best Christian Bale impression, you get to start with your thoughts on the Batman 2022.
I liked it.
That's all you got.
That's
Yes.
all you got.
That's all you got. You don't rate it anything. You just like to watch it.
I rate it a 10 out of 10. I give it a big old 2 thumbs up. I absolutely enjoyed every second of it. My favorite 2 scenes from the movie. Where's the spoiler horn? Ah!
Ow.
Not the spoiler horn.
Okay. My favorite 2 scenes from the movie were the car chase scene.
Oh, yeah,
We
that's
never
a
talked about the Batmobile. Oh my gosh.
Okay, Batmobile is cool. End of discussion.
Go watch the movie for the Batmobile.
Yeah.
Batmobile's great.
And the hallway scene with the in Falcone's penthouse whatever place where
When
he's-
like
when
Oh,
it-
when
Catwoman was
it's
trying to shoot.
dark and
it's-
everybody's
it's-
shooting at
it's
him.
completely dark and the only lighting is the gunshot.
Is the gun?
Oh yeah, that's
that
a
was
really
so
good
good.
one.
I
That's a
love
the
that.
sick
shots in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because it's kind of like it's like in Rogue One, the Darth Vader hallway scene in Rogue One.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, those are my favorite types of scenes. Car chases and fight scenes.
And like especially fight scenes that basically kind of experiment with like
Cinematography.
yeah, with like the
Mhm.
gunshots being and like it kind of like moves. I wouldn't
Yeah.
say slow motion, but like it kind of like slows and like you see like slowly how Batman's just beating the crap out of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So, my final thought on the Batman movie is this. Bruce Wayne.
Okay.
Okay, Riddler.
All right, we're
Alright.
going to Jarrett because Jarrett did a better one than me.
Yeah.
Okay. Just. Oh gosh. What to say? This movie was fantastic. I loved every second of this thing. I will say that the fact that it is 3 hours long, I do feel like around 2 hours 15, right before that final fight or whatever the heck you want to call it, it kind of started to drag just a little, but then it picked back up with the ending. But the shots in this were fantastic. Gotham was fantastic. Batman was fantastic. I'm so glad that we worked on detective stuff and he's not just punching people.
Catwoman was fantastic.
Catwoman. Oh gosh. Just if you have not seen this movie, go see this movie because it's whether you like it or not, we're gonna get more of this world, and I for one am all for it. 10 out of 10, 2 thumbs way up.
Okay.
All right.
All right. You want to go, Birdo? Because you did a better one than me. I
You
can tell you
did the
that.
worst one.
Yeah, no, we're not going to talk about that.
All right. So for
It's in
me,
the episode.
Oh,
this Batman movie was honestly like one of the best superhero movies I've ever seen in my life. Like everyone said here, the action was fantastic with that scene with the hallway and everything, the car scene. Rivals the it was Dark Knight where they do the car scene.
They do a couple of car scenes.
The
in that
police
trilogy.
chase.
The
Where he's in the
famous police chase.
truck?
Yeah, I remember I had a class where we basically kind of went through that scene and saw how physics work.
Joker has a bazooka.
Yes.
The police officer's like, what the heck is that? A bazooka? Boom.
But yeah, I thought Batman, Robert Pattinson did a fantastic job as Batman. Bruce Wayne, I can kind of see an argument for him, his portrayal as Bruce Wayne, but I do kind of like the fact that he's more or less a grungy sort of millionaire instead of the flamboyant I get women sort of guy. My favorite scene from the movie, I just really enjoyed the interactions that Bruce Wayne had with Catwoman, especially when he was going or Catwoman was going incognito, and that whole scene that was really intense. The bomb scene, there were so many amazing scenes. The pacing of the movie, Jared said, it was a 3-hour movie and it might have dragged on, but I feel the pacing was fantastic in the movie. The visuals looked fantastic. It looked straight out, like it really looked like Batman Year One, kind of replicated into like a big screen. Like it genuinely looked like a great comic book. Everything was just amazing about that movie. I give it 2 thumbs up, and I would recommend anyone to watch this movie and just pay attention and just sit on through and enjoy a great performance.
Okay. All right, finally on to me. Yay.
Mickey Moore on the
So, personally, throughout all of the Batman stuff, all the Batman canon, my favorite Batman stuff is the stuff where they're focusing on him being a detective. I don't like watching Batman beat up people all the time. I love seeing Batman just be incredibly intelligent and outsmarting everyone. And so I like this movie because it's digging more into that, and it's showing off how he's gaining his detective skills and getting better at what he already has. And I think this movie was phenomenal. I think if you're into any sort of detective noir, any sort of like crime solving movies, this was definitely for you. If you're a superhero or a comic book fan, I think you should give this movie a shot. It may not be up your avenue, but I think it's at least worth a watch. Um, like you said, Pattinson does an amazing job. I really enjoyed watching everybody. I think everybody overall, the cast was just phenomenal here. Yeah, the pacing, you may have to. For some people, the pacing may be bad. Some people, the pacing may be good. Really, you should sit through this movie because the third act of this movie is absolutely bonkers, and it's definitely worth sitting through. And yeah, it's pretty much all I can really add here. I give it a 9.5 out of a 10, and I give myself a thumb and a thumb drive up.
Thank you for coming to the Christmas podcast.
But yeah, just like Charlie was saying, thank you guys for watching the Cringe Binge podcast. We are up on Spotify.
Yep, we're up on Spotify now, you guys. The Cringe Binge podcast. You can find our first episode, and this one will be going up here shortly, or within the next couple days, I imagine.
Mhm.
So be sure to look out for them, and on Anchor as well is where the
And
podcast is located.
And I'll also be posting the podcast on YouTube, where you're gonna just see like a bunch of visual gags throughout. I guess if
The TLDL listen. Too long didn't listen.
maybe I'll just post and we're gonna probably open like a YouTube channel for the Cringe Binge podcast. So if we open that, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to listen to the podcast on Spotify. Show us some love.
Yep.
We're college students. We love movies.
Remember, it's the Cringe Binge podcast on Spotify.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I love you.
I love you.
I love you.
See you guys.
Love you.
Bye bye.